Hey, what's up, coders? This is Derek from Derek Code's YouTube channel. And what we're going to be doing today is setting up Laravel 8 from scratch on your Linux machine. Now, full disclaimer, I'm assuming that you already had a Linux server to set this up on, and you already know the basics of PHP, Apache, and MySQL. If you don't, no worries. Check out one of my other videos where we actually set up all the same stuff, the exact thing, on your local Mac using a free service called MAMP. So let's dive right in though on this topic. The first thing that you're going to need to install this awesome framework called Laravel is Composer. If you don't already have it installed on your server, go ahead and jump over to getcomposer.org. And basically, what Composer is, it's a tool to allow you to manage the dependencies of a large project. So Laravel has a lot of things that it needs to actually function that doesn't come natively with the base package. There's a lot of outside things that it requires. So this handles a lot of it. And long story short, it's a JSON file that it produces to specify specific versions of the different packages that it needs. So go ahead and click on download. Just copy these 4 lines of code, go over your terminal and go ahead and paste them in wherever you plan on installing your project. And what it's going to do is actually create a composer.var file. Now, this is the command line tool that you're going to use to install Laravel. And just one note on Composer, from time to time, you will need to update it. So what you can do is from the command line, run Composer space self-update. And you'll see that ours is already updated because we just installed it. So we are good to go to actually start installing Laravel. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to jump back over to the Laravel website, go to the documentation, and I'm going to change the version of the documentation to Laravel 8. And I'm going to say getting started on Linux. Now, this is where it gets complicated. Laravel provides 3 different ways with Laravel 8 to actually install the MVC. So the first option is Docker, which is basically a container to versionize all the different development environment pieces when working with multiple team members. So your Apache, your MySQL, your PHP, all those different things, it'll containerize it so that everybody gets the exact same thing. So it's a little overkill for what we're trying to demonstrate at this point. The next service they provide an example for is Sail. And Sail is actually a Laravel product that they provide to get up and run quickly. Definitely a cool tool. But I still prefer good old-fashioned Composer. It's really simple to use and get started. So running the Composer command, running the create project method, and specifying Laravel version 8 into the example app folder. So we're going to copy this and paste it in, and it'll begin installing all the things that it needs. And you'll see it'll go fast, but there's quite a few things that it installs, a lot of different dependencies. All right, now that we have Laravel installed, before we actually serve it up to the web, modify the Apache configuration to actually show the world what we've done, big security warning. So obviously Laravel, super secure by nature, being an MVC. It has SQL injection protection. It has validation of form data that's coming in. But there's 2 really huge things you gotta make a note of. Jump over to my code editor here and show you here. Here's the example app that we just installed. Install a lot of information, a lot of folders. We'll go through some of those, but a lot of metadata. The environment file is the configuration file for the project. And since we're going to be serving this thing up to the web, we cannot have the debugging tools active because those are things that are going to be displaying the errors if there are any and allow people to use tools to figure things out, which we don't really want the public to do. So we're going to change this app environment to production and app debug to false. So if there is an error, it's just going to give you a nice clean 500 error, and no one's going to be able to tell any difference of what is actually happening behind the scenes. They'd have to get into the server logs to actually see what's going on. So you can always change that back to true as you're trying to debug things, but all in all, you got to keep those things turned off. The next thing is when you set up Apache, you cannot have it served from the base project directory. And the reason being is there's this environment file in there. And as you can see, there's a lot of password information in here. Mail, databases, Oz for uploading files, Pusher for sending push notifications or sockets and channels and things like that. Where you want to serve your project from is what's called the public folder. Makes sense, right? So two things, change this environment file to production, this one to false, if you're serving it up to the web for everyone to see. And then when you configure Apache, do not use the example app as your base directory. You have to specify the public. And then I think we're ready to jump into Apache and get that configured. Let's jump over there. Now I'm already logged in as root on my Linux box, and I've already configured this stuff, but I wanted to walk you through what I did. Depending on your version, in mine, I actually had to configure my example directory to allow access for traffic to actually, get to those different directories. So you might actually have to do the same things. And then I already created an example virtual host configuration file, which you can see here, setting the document root to the full path, including that public directory, really important piece, and then my server name. So pretty straightforward there. So let's jump over to our server, which right now is just Apache's default test page. Go ahead and give it a refresh here. There you have it. Laravel is installed. So now that we actually have everything installed, we're going to want to set up a database for Laravel to use. And this will be obviously important for storing data down the road in some of our later episodes. So let's jump over to SQL Pro, which is the tool I use to manage my database. And I've already set up my user in the background. I'm going to go ahead and create the database here called example in UTF encoding. Go ahead and click add here. So that's added. I'm going to jump back over to my code editor, and I've already added in the database configuration. So the database is example, user's name is example, and here's my ultra secure password, right? So then I'm going to go to my console here and use what's called Artisan. And Artisan is a Laravel tool that allows you to run migrations, which is setting up database tables and rows and changes to your database structure. And PHP Artisan also allows you to create new models for your database to access that data, controllers and things like that. And we get into that in some other videos, so we'll chat about that next time. But for now, all we want to do is write PHP. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to move into our example app folder first. List it out, so you'll see it actually listed here, Artisan. Run PHP artisan migrate. And it'll ask you, are you sure you want to migrate this? Because we're in a production environment, because we're public. I say yes, and it runs those migrations and creates the files. That's all you need to do. Well, that concludes our Laravel 8 installation guide on a Linux box. There's a lot more to learn, so check out the other videos that we have, taking things to the next step with validation, adding routes, adding controllers, saving stuff to the database, really cool stuff going on. Be sure to like and subscribe, and then if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and post those down below. Thanks for watching.